welcome. This is your week 14 lecture. This is the final lecture for our Practical English Class 2 for Semester 2. So what I'd like to do today is, again, I'm going to be working with the PowerPoint. So ideally, what I'd like to do today, I'm going to move on to slide 2 here, is I want to split the videos this time into 4 to make them a little bit easier for you to digest, basically, a little bit easier for you to get through. So essentially week 14 is our makeup class, because if you remember a long time ago, in week 4 I was under the understanding that you were doing your teacher training in week 4. So week 4 we did not have a lecture, which means that we add one more week essentially to the semester. So what I've done is I'm breaking this week into 4 separate video parts. So essentially our week 14 is November 23rd to 27th. And what I'm going to do is I'm just going to give you a very simple assignment, and all it is for you to answer yes or no. I am doing some research studies at Chennai National University dealing with English education, and what I'd like to do is I'd like to use your writing without your name, without any of your information, so nobody would know it was yours, for what's called corpus studies. So essentially what it is I use your writing and then I analyze basically what students usually do with their writing. So your name would not be involved, but I do need your permission for me to use your writing. So for your week 14 assignment, all you have to do is write yes or no. Yes means that it's okay for me to use your writing in my studies. If you write no, then it means I cannot use your writing in your studies, and I will not be using it for my corpus data. So anyways, I'll write that down. So essentially today what we're doing is we're going to work on 4 videos. For the first one, for part 1, I'm going to take a look at our course itself, how it's graded once again, to make sure everyone is clear, and also to give you time to ask me questions if you have any. I'm also going to talk about how your essay assignments were graded for week 12, and then for week 13 I'll be using the same system, and also about our exams. Okay, so we'll be starting exams starting next week, and I'll discuss that. Part 2 we'll be talking about the week 12 assignment simple corrections and some common problems that students had with that assignment. And then part 3, as usual, we will do a review from last week, from our week 13. And part 4 is going to be a general course review, just to remind you what we have studied and what I expect you to know in your final tests, or for your final tests, I should say. So I'm moving on now to slide number 3. And slide number 3 is our part 1. So I'm moving into our part 1 for this particular video. So once again, I'm going to be discussing the English grading for our course, this whole semester's course. Also, I want to talk about how the week 12 and week 13 assignments are graded. And then finally, I want to talk about your exams. So I'm moving on to slide number 4. Now, this is probably the most important thing I can say to you, and that is thank you. You've done a really good job this semester, and I know it's been very difficult because of the coronavirus. So because the coronavirus has created such a difficult situation, these, last semester and this semester have been very hard on you as first-year students. So I just want to say you've done a very good job. Very well done. And once again, this is our final lecture this week, so we will be starting our written exam next week. So please do stay safe. Stay, away from crowds and away from areas where lots of people gather. And this is not just to protect you, to keep yourself safe, but this is also to protect your families and keep them safe as well. So most importantly, continue, please, 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 to protect yourself and your families. So I'm going to move on now to slide number 5. Slide number 5 is another important issue because we've been having, the same as anything. When something is new, when it's introduced, we have issues. So we have to go through all of these issues to find, the sort of perfect ideal. So because GNUE has used this new computer program, the Gesture Cloud education site, we've had quite a few issues. But most importantly is the fact that I had a student who told me they had submitted an assignment and sent me screenshots of their submission, but on my professor's screen there was no assignment. So please go through and make sure that your assignments have been registered in the computer. And I spoke to your class captains should have contacted you if I had any missing assignments or if the assignments were late. So please, please, please check your assignment submissions and make sure that your records match mine. If you do think you have a problem, or if you aren't sure, contact me now. Please don't wait, because in the last 2 weeks I'm grading like crazy and I'm very, very busy. So it's important to, if you're unsure, worried, you don't understand something, contact me now. Please, please, please. So we're going to move on now to slide number 6. So slide number 6 is talking about the grading again. So this is the same thing that I spoke about in last week's lecture. Your Practical English 2 grading is made up of 4 points, basically. The first point is attendance. So the way that we worked it this semester was if you submitted your assignments on time to the GNUE Gesture Cloud site, then you got your 20 points for attendance right away. Again, because of these computer issues, it's really important for you to check, because I trust the system. So I didn't know that this issue was happening, but it's important for you to check individually, because it's very hard for me, of course, to go through 150 students' information one by one. Anyways, the second was participation. So participation is, the way I did it at the beginning of the semester, essentially, was that if you submitted your assignment and your assignment was complete, so you did all that I asked of you, then I would give you 100 points. So you got a perfect score for your homework. My point with the homework was you're practicing your English, because we're very limited. We don't have the in-class content where you would be speaking and using it in class time. So this was part of how I was trying to get you to do that, was to use your English in your homework. And of course listening to the lectures. The final grading point is your final exams. So your final exams are worth 30% each. Your written exam will be next week, and I'll explain more in a minute. And the speaking exam will be in the week 16, because of missing week 14, or week 4 rather. So week 16 is in December. So what I'd like to do is I'm going to move on here to slide number 7. So slide number 7 is talking about how I marked the week 12 and how I'm going to mark the week 13 assignments. So essentially I started to, because actually your homework, these are participation marks. So realistically speaking, basically it's 2 points per class. So these aren't really big, they're not worth a big chunk of points, but these are really important points. So the last 2 weeks, because your final written test is an essay, so the last 2 weeks what I did was I tried to mark according to how well you did with your essays. Now, of course, these are just small, these are just little points, but it's important for you to look at these issues, and if you have problems, then to review and find out what the problems are, if you care. If you don't, that's fine as well. So anyways, how I worked on the essay assessment. I grouped all of your essays into 4 separate categories. The first was when I gave 100. So 100 does not mean that it's perfect. What it means is you have understood what I have taught so far. So you get the general principles. So 100% or 100 points meant that you completed the assignment fully and that you understood that an essay is 5 paragraphs and it's made up of 50 sentences. But again, that doesn't mean you were perfect, because as humans, you can always do better, number one. But I wasn't marking it for specific points. So I'm going to talk more about the problems, some issues that I noticed, common problems, in a minute. The next group so the hundreds was that it was complete and you understood well. 90s were for students who had small issues, is what I called it. So for example, students, they had the right idea, perhaps they had 5 paragraphs, but they were missing sentences. Okay, so basically they had maybe 30 sentences, something like that. So they were closer to the 50 end, but they were still missing part of their essay. Another point was about paragraph issues within the essay, but generally speaking, it was an essay. 80s were for bigger issues. Now, big issues are what I used for 20 sentences or less. I would have given you an 80. So if you're using too few sentences by far, then you would definitely get points deducted, and quite largely. Because remember that part of your skill here is using the English vocabulary, the English ability that you have now, but producing a nice, fully developed essay of English in English. And using your thoughts and your ideas and organizing them in a systematic way and then giving them to your audience, which is me. Another issue that I had was some students gave me one big paragraph. So again, please review. You can go and check. My understanding is you can check your homework assignment points. If you have a problem and you cannot, contact me, please, 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 because we do not have direct face-to-face contact, so it's really important for us to keep in contact over email or Cat Talk or regular messaging. But contact me, that's what's important. Next, don't wait to the end, because if you wait to the end, maybe I can't help. I want to help you. That's what I'm here to do. That's my job. The final group was 70s. So 70s had very serious problems, and they are not understanding what the assignment was. For example, I had one paragraph given to me by a number of students of 10 sentences. So part of our semester has been learning new vocabulary words. Now, we haven't done it in a constructed textbook style way where I give you your 10 vocabulary words to memorize and you translate them into Korean and like this. But actually what we did is I tried to get you to learn new vocabulary words through use, so in context, because I think it's a more effective way for you to learn grammar. So things like you should know what word is, you should know what sentence is, paragraph, essay, you should know transition words, you should know all of these things that we've talked about, synonyms, antonyms, and be able to apply them, which is even more important. So I have contacted all the students who I gave 70 to. I have also, or the vast majority anyways, and I also contacted some students who got 80s. Because of these issues. So if you got a message from me, it means that you're not clear about your assignments, and you need to be. So as I've said to you in my emails, please, I can't say it enough. I'm here to help. That's what I would love to do. I would like to help you. So if perhaps you're shy or you don't want to send an email, you can call me. Give me a shout, but please, in normal working hours, between 9 and 6, because of course I have a family and I have other things that I have to do. So please. I think that's probably good enough. Yeah, I can't say that enough. Please contact me early, right now. Send a message. Anyways, I'm going to move on now to slide number 8. So slide number 8 is talking about your written exam for next week. So next week we're going to follow the same pattern that we have followed previously. You will do an English interview. I thought quite hard about whether I should say English or Korean. You know, I don't mind if you use Korean, but really the point of the interview is for you to use vocabulary so that, and you know, you can find vocabulary before your interview so that then you can use it in your essay fluently. You're comfortable with those words. So essentially you're going to do an English interview with the same person you've interviewed before. What I'd like you to do is to do it in English as much as possible, because I think it would really help you for your vocabulary and fluency. You know, because this is one of the points of us using language is communication, right? So that means the other person should be able to speak English also, or at least enough to talk together. So this is why I suggest that you use the partners that your class captain set you up with previously. If you can't find a partner, talk to me, okay? We will find someone for you. But do it now. Don't wait. So essentially I'm going to follow the same pattern. I will give you the assignment. Then you will have your 6 days to complete your assignment, complete your essay, and hand it in. Of course, this means we're going to be following all the rules we have studied this semester, and this is how I will be analyzing how well you have understood everything. If you want to use a new person, I don't mind, but you do, remember, need to tell me who they are, and you need to do the interview in English, please. So what I'll do is I'll use the same pattern as what we've used. You'll have 5 questions to choose from. You choose one question, ask your interview questions of the person, and then you will write about the person, okay? Not about yourself. So that makes it a little bit maybe more complex, but no problem. So what I would like you to be doing is thinking about your interview questions, what questions you want to ask, follow-up questions, the types of questions that you need to get the information that you want. You should also definitely brainstorm your essay and organize it before you start writing, because it's the simplest way for you to create a really good essay. And it also, if you brainstorm and organize your essay before you start writing, it gives you a very clear direction to go in, so it's really comfortable and very easier, or much easier, for you to write it. So, I'm going to move on now to slide number 9. This is the last in our section for part 1. And this is once again talking about the speaking exam. So next week will be your week 15 assignment. The speaking exam, I'm going to call you. It's going to be a 30% mark, so you'll get points out of 30. So essentially what I'm looking for is for you to answer in a paragraph style. Okay, so we're looking for about 10 sentences, and that you have a clear direction, you know what you're talking about, and then you talk about it. So if you, my suggestions, very strong suggestions, are to review paragraph structure. You should be very comfortable with it right now, but answering in paragraph form is a little bit more complex because you have to think on the spot and answer fairly quickly. But if you think about it and decide on how you're going to do that, then you can find a really good, strong way to answer. My plan is basically that we'll spend about 5 minutes per person on the phone, perhaps a little bit less, a little bit more. I will follow the class pattern, and I'm going to look at the same times as our classes would normally be. So I'll be speaking to your class captains next week to make sure that that's clear and that everyone is comfortable. Because if you do have an issue, perhaps you have a class at the time or you have to do something at that time, then you can contact me and we'll work out a time that's more convenient for you. So I'm going to stop my part 1 video here, And shortly then you will be, I'll move you on to our part 2. Bye bye, see you soon.